There is this question that is posed to us, a hypothetical, is this good? With this, there is Matt, of course, and this JD and so on, etc. They are asking this impossible question, this query, is it good? And for me, I say more than is it good, I wonder, is it correct?
Hello and welcome to Is This Good? The show where we boldly, conclusively, and scientifically decide what things in this big wide world are good. I'm Matt Austin, and with me, as always, is production powerhouse Jason Doyle.
Hello.
Hi, JD. Thanks for coming. And today's guest is an actor, voiceover artist, impressionist, and one of my favorite stand-up comedians. You know him from Comedy Bang Bang, Conan, The Eric Andre Show, interviewing Bernie Sanders as Bernie Sanders. And if you've watched an animated series in the last 15 years, you've definitely heard his voice. He just released his excellent stand-up special, Path of Most Resistance, now available on YouTube. He's a dream in Lucky Brand jeans. It's James Adomian. James, welcome to Is This Good?
Hey, man, it sounds like you saw the special.
I did, and then I had to prove it to you, you know? So, are we good?
Yeah, we good, man?
Well, okay, you're already in your Marin, but I guess I slipped into a Marin there for a second.
Yeah, right.
If I can pay you a compliment, your impressions, when I don't know who the person is, make me want to look up the person. So obviously you do like Richard Attenborough, Alex Jones, Jesse Ventura, Sam Elliott. I know all these people. Somehow I've gone my whole life without watching an episode of Bar Rescue.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry I did that to you.
Well, so I was like, okay, you do an impression of Jon Taffer. I look him up on YouTube, and I'm like, wow, this guy really is a lunatic yelling at people to put more TVs in their bars.
Yes. We need TVs everywhere. Riverside, you're wasting memory. Is it good? No.
What are his qualifications?
I think he's just one of those guys that's like, I'm louder than most people, so I'll do whatever I want.
Do you ever have any impressions that you have realized are too niche to do?
That happens a lot, and I just do them anyway. I get people sometimes marvel at, oh my God, I feel like this is so niche, it's just for me. And it's not a lot of people. But, I've done, Bernie Sanders, I was waiting and wanting to do Bernie Sanders and then when he just ran for president, when he announced it in 2015, I pounced on it because I was like, I've wanted to do this for so long. I love this guy. And I was like, nobody knows who he is right now, but in like 2 months, everyone will know who he is. So that was one that was like, I was lucky because it was very niche, and then it kind of like, you could see that it was going to go somewhere. And then, of course, there's the European philosopher from Slovenia, Slavoj Žižek, which half of people know. Everybody has seen him on the internet, but then everyone on TV would be like, James, what are you talking about? This character you made up? But also sometimes I'll do it and I realize, oh, right, some people just think I made this character up.
I mean, but it would be a great character to make up because he's so sort of slobbery.
Yeah.
That if you were going to invent philosopher character, he would be a great one to make up.
There is this question that is posed to us, a hypothetical, is this good? With this, there is Matt, of course, and this JD and so on, etc. They are asking this impossible question, this query, is it good? And for me, I say more than is it good, I wonder, is it correct?
For instance, like you do an Andy Kindler, which now that JFL's been taken down by a tragic email phishing scam, you might not have as much call for. But that is what I would call a niche one that I'm sad we might not get to hear as much anymore.
Yeah, some people think that. Like, my outlook is skewed towards things that I know. So there's a lot of like comedians that I've done shows with where it was just convenient to get on stage after somebody and start doing an impression.
I've seen you do it before they've gone up.
Right. Also, sometimes there's that Sometimes that's a hurdle that I'm giving to someone, like an asshole, and sometimes it's done to me. Like Mark Maron was like, the first time he heard that I did an impression with him, we were on a show together years ago, and he came into the green room, and he just immediately he locks eyes with me, and he's like, I heard you do an impression of me. Do it tonight before I go on stage. It's like, fuck. Okay, thank you.
With Kindler, it's so funny because you'll go on and you'll do this, that, and a third thing. And then he'll come on stage and literally do it, like the formula of his stand-up, which I love, by the way, is so exactly that it does feel like, oh, wow, you kind of cracked the code too well on that one.
Well, that was, he's joked that he would take me on the road or send me on the road as like a Gallagher 2. That's also doing the same act. But he, there was one time when he does the JFL, he does the Just for Laughs, well, up until recently, he did the State of the Industry address every year. And I think it was his idea to have me intro him as himself. So I did. And I found out from his wife, like, what he was wearing that day. So I kind of got this, like, red wine, long button shirt, you know, and I have a black wig and glasses, and I got on stage, and it was like I did like a short Kindler set of like 5 minutes to bring him on, and that was fun because this is pre-pandemic by a few years, and it was in the prime time of Andy Kindler like going in hard on Ricky Gervais and Louis C.K. and it was so fun. It was and when Louis C.K. was in his prime too, and so I did a whole roast thing where I was taking on like way more legendary comedy figures so, in the Andy Kindler style. So I was like, Richard Pryor, what's wrong? Why not Richard Previous? Huh? Hey, Buster Keaton, turn the train around.
Oh God, I love Kindler. I saw him do something like, you know, in one of these small East LA like comedy things in a bar back patio thing, and I don't think he'd performed in a long time since COVID. Like he kind of really retreated.
He's recently back. Yes,
he's recently back. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he gets up. Everyone in the audience is like 26, and I find he just blows everyone else off stage still.
He does. So. He's a killer. He's great. His whole act sometimes is like bombing intentionally, but he's really good at it, so he like kills with that. And I love the guy. He's very influential on me. When I was starting out in stand-up, I would say, like specifically for stand-up comedy, not just like comedy in general, but specifically for stand-up when I was starting, I was very influenced by some of the older guys the older than me that were bigger names, but like still would do the backyard shows and the bar shows and the basement shows and so forth. Like they'd still come around and do all the young shows that didn't do them any good. So that was like Andy Kindler, Eddie Pepitone, Todd Glass, Mark Maron, and definitely Brody Stevens. Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Now, like in the press release for I shouldn't say the press release. I mean, the words I read on the internet about your special. It says it's your first special. How is that possible?
Well, to quote the Wizard of Oz, child, you've cut me to the quick.
I know like there's a way that but you have an album out that I've heard before. Is that not a special?
We're talking about like a film special. Yes. The album was Low Hanging Fruit from 2012. I only put out major things apparently in the Year of the Dragon. So that was 2012, Low Hanging Fruit, which I'm still very proud of. And that was recent. It was kind of became unavailable due to link rot. And so 800 Pound Gorilla re-released it for me. And it was a huge favor, and I was very happy with how they re-released it. And so that sort of began the relationship I have with 800 Pound Gorilla to then make this special, Path of Most Resistance, which is in video format this time.
So, but if it's the first one on video, then did you feel kind of like, shit, I can pull anything from the last 10 years because this is the first one? Or
you would think, but here's the thing. I have had what I thought were hours in the past decade that were ready to do for an hour or a half hour special. But I never got the opportunity. No one like wanted to do it with me. They're like, no, we want him on our cartoons, but we don't want him on our cameras. And so I was frankly very depressed about it, and then I would just kind of like just push it out of my mind just to be able to do anything, so you're not dwelling on it all the time. And I would just come up with hours and burn them and then get tired of them and put them away and never record them. And there was a lot of good stuff that's kind of lost over the years. I am finding some of it that was recorded here and there, piecemeal fashion, like good bits that I enjoyed, and putting it out on Instagram now just to kind of like goose the algorithm. So there's like pieces of what might have been a larger, cooler thing that were recorded. But this time I was like, I didn't really dip too far into the past because there's a shelf life on a lot of bits. There's like a thing that's it's an impression or a satire of something in time that's just gone, and then you realize like, in 2016, plus or minus a couple years, I was doing a whole lot of Bernie Sanders stuff, even my stand-up, and it's like that doesn't quite. There's a little tiny Bernie thing in the special now, but that doesn't quite like play like it did back then. And there's a bonus content thing that's going to come out about where I'm doing a Jesse Ventura thing addressing why he's not in my special. Because he was like, what? I get cut out just because I'm not in the news? Because I'm not a relevant public figure? I'm not buying it. So like there's things that you get obsessed with and you enjoy doing, and then they have a natural like there's a natural Muppet Show kind of like dun 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 like that. Yeah. That bit's over.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite things that you do or have done is your Sebastian Gorka. I've only seen you do one video of it, and you're at the top of the stairs and you're like walking down a stairwell, and it's like very Bond villain, and it's so specifically Gorka, and I don't know if you've ever done it before, or I've never seen you do it in stand up, and it's just one of those little slivers in time, He
wouldn't work in stand up. And
yeah.
People used to try to demand it from me, and I never like. For me, the stand-up is different from what I do on podcasts or cartoons because I have to do a good hour. I can't just get up there and do take requests for impressions. And if you start doing Gorka, it hijacks the whole show. Totally. And then another problem with someone like that is half the crowd doesn't know who he is. Half the crowd really wants you to do it, and half the crowd doesn't know who he is. So it's like you've made a bad show just to make like a couple of tables happy at the show. But yes, that Gorka video, I used to do him a lot on Chapo Trap House, the podcast, and I would do him in character, like in costume, live, like on the show without Brett Davis in New York when he was doing that, the special without Brett Davis, excuse me. I did Gorka with like a cape, like a true Bond villain, but that was always the angle, like a Bond villain.
Totally, yeah. So funny.
And I was in Edinburgh at the Fringe bombing for a month when I made that video, and so it was kind of like a treat to do something besides a stand-up hour that was not working for the Scottish and British
not big
audiences.
Jon Taffer fans over there.
That's the thing; the references die the moment you cross the sea.
All right, James, before we go on, just a bit of quick housekeeping. If you want to support the show and get exclusive content, go to patreon.com/isthisgood, and you can always send emails, future topics for future shows to isthisgoodpod@gmail.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. James, the premise of the show, it's very simple. I give you a topic, and all you have to do is tell me if you think it's good. I mean, obviously, you can explain further, but that's the basic premise.
You don't want, like, just simple yes or no questions?
I don't have enough questions to get us through on a simple yes or no.
Like I'm under interrogation with a single light bulb above me.
Maybe just a really long, dramatic pause before you say yes or no, and that, could burn some time that way. Listener Isaac H. wrote in to ask, eating on public transit. Is this good? Now, I know in the special you mentioned specifically that you had a bus pass. So I'm guessing you have an opinion on this.
This is a good question for me.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know if he was tailoring this question to me, Isaac H. or if this is
Isaac
just
H. was not, but Matthew O. was.
Okay, so yes, I see you curated it. So I don't have a car, and I haven't had a car in 15 years, unless I rent one occasionally. So I get around LA and most other cities, without driving, unless, in Atlanta it's impossible. That's where one of the places I rent a car.
Yeah.
But they say that about LA, but it's not impossible in LA, and I get around that way. So I do take public transit, and I have taken it frequently for 15 years, and then most of my life, I learned to take the bus in junior high school in LA. And I have actually gotten... I didn't get a ticket. I've gotten a ticket on the train here, but it wasn't for eating on the bus. It was for trying to exit through the wrong platform or something, where they dismissed it. But when I went to court, there was a woman who was there for, and the judge asked, like, and what are you accused of? And she says, eating chips. And the whole courtroom, breaks out in like boos and tisks, and they're like order, and the bailiff is like, how dare you? And I remember thinking, like, sorry guys, you have an unpopular law. Like, you already force us to call you Your Honor, and without knowing what you've done. I'm like, I feel unethical doing that. I'm like, can I see your case law ahead of time to decide if I should call you Your Honor? Seems a little bit forced. Can you imagine if anyone in any other business demanded respect before they told you what they were going to do? But I thought, no. I mean, if it's going to be a law, it shouldn't be enforced, in my opinion. And sure, okay, if you're just talking about etiquette and manners, it's technically against the rules in most transit systems to drink water on the train, and to me that's inhumane. I think you should be able to guzzle water and dribble a little bit down the front of your shirt, frankly.
Hold on. I thought water was the exception everywhere.
As far as I know, you can't drink. Well, they might not enforce it. As far as I know,
so
in Los
this is
Angeles,
like a voting line in Georgia.
Yes, sadly, yes. But I just think I'm generally against most rules. Etiquette is a different thing. Like, sure, if somebody's chomping on chips and scattering them all over the floor, that's a problem. That's littering, and that's different. That's making a mess. Mm-hmm. But I generally I'm against criminalizing things that aren't that bad. And we already have the world's largest prison population. You don't need to be sending people to prison for Doritos on a subway train.
Okay, but if it's a sort of East Coast Cape Cod style kettle chip, too noisy, then straight to prison.
Look, etiquette, I'm not prison, but etiquette, sure. You can give someone a glance or whatever if you want to. Yeah, but I also think, eating on trains causes messes. Why don't we hire people to clean up messes like we used to? There used to be elevator attendants. And that was like a whole category of person that got to contribute to society. And like, going up, sir? Like,
but there was skill that they had to close those doors that were like latticed. You know what I mean?
We should
Not
go
anyone
back to
could
those
do that.
doors. We should go back to those doors, because now, if Droopy the dog were alive today, he would have no employment. He would be one of these people kicked out on the streets.
You're right.
Just wandering the streets, going down, sir. I can't. The rent is too damn high, sir.
Oh, I was just going to ask, do you think that the technology was legitimately too advanced in the early times of elevators? Like, would the layman have walked into an elevator and not known how to work it?
I imagine all these things taking place in like the New York City of Hudsucker Proxy, or of of the Marx Brothers or something, where everything was an idiot. Everything was just idiots, and so they were like, "We've already lost 40 people to this elevator. They fell down the shaft. Yes, 15 of them fell down the shaft and were squished over and over and over again. There was no way to stop it going up and down. But we lost 25 more being squeezed to death in the lattice work."
I don't see a floor, but I'm getting in. Okay, obviously a lot of people seem to like get their dander up about eating on public transit. They're like you said, it makes a mess or it's smelly or whatever. But obviously we have a problem, especially in Los Angeles, of getting people to take public transit. So shouldn't we be pitching it as take public transit because you can get things done that you can't do when you're driving? So
yeah, you could read a book.
You could do a crossword. You could nap. You could
play
work.
chess. No,
Why can't you eat a piece of fruit leather? There's no chew. I mean, there's no crunch. There's no crumb. It doesn't smell. You could chew gum on a bus. So there's some foods that are very close to gum, in my opinion. They're just chewing is allowed. Chewing is allowed.
Yeah, and I would say, look, if I'm the benevolent dictator of Los Angeles, which I fantasize about all the time, if I'm the Fiorello LaGuardia,
that's funny. You don't look like Rick Caruso.
if I'm the Fiorello LaGuardia of the 2030s in Los Angeles, I'm gonna have an attendant on every car of every subway and on every bus with white gloves, dressed like a bellman in a hotel, who, if you spill coffee on someone, yeah, sure, he'll lecture you or whatever, maybe give you a small ticket if you actually cause an offense. And also, every train, car, every bus cleaned every day with a pressure washer from the inside. And they're like, it's too expensive. Yes, but those people then, they pay into the thing to pay for itself. Mm-hmm. That's the miracle of full employment. I would be throwing jobs around like they were going out of style, which they are.
Wait, now I'm starting to wonder, are you pro bathroom attendant then?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I don't need them waving a basket next to me. Right up next to me. But yes, sure.
We're the only
yes.
ones keeping Banaka in business. You know, we gotta...
I love when there's people that are paid to be attendants for things. That, you know, in, I think it's Oregon and New Jersey, if you have a gas station, you have to hire someone to pump the gas. So everything is full serve. I love that. I get it. It's a way to force like a huge windfall industry like gas, oil, petroleum to like spread the money around a little.
Yeah.
Also, just thinking back to the eating. You can eat on an airplane, obviously, but people would say, yeah, you have to because you could be in there for, 7-8 hours. But some flights, like when I used to fly between Montreal and Toronto, or even Montreal to New York, you're less than an hour in the air. Most people's commutes are longer than that on, taking a bus to the subway or whatever.
Sure, yes. Sometimes, have you ever taken the bus? Have you ever taken the bus from Burbank to Santa Monica?
Okay.
God, or, if you're lucky, you get the bus to the train, to the train, to the bus, to Santa Monica. And, that could take 2 hours. And of course you have to be able to drink water. You have to be able to drink water. I mean, yeah, I don't think you should be cooking and dropping sloppy eggs on the ground. But like, nobody does that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's just be respectful. You're allowed to listen to your music on public transit. Respectful way is with headphones, but that doesn't stop some people from playing it off a speaker. So just eat respectfully would be, and if you want to like fetishize Tokyo and be like, well, look at them, it's so pristine and clean there, you could eat off the floor, then we got to go full Tokyo rules and like no talking either. No, you know what I mean? Just sit there, look straight ahead, and don't say anything.
Right.
But if you're
I've never actually been there, but I have friends and I'm fascinated. I really want to go, and I've heard that a lot of it is enforced by custom and not even by law. Like, there are some laws. Sure. My friend said that he sat down to eat a sandwich outside of a 7-Eleven on the steps, and a policeman was very polite, was like, sir, you can't do that here, you have to do that over there. And he was like, oh, okay, sorry. And but there's some things that are just kind of known. Like, you don't do this because your parents taught you.
Yeah. JD, let's get a quick ruling here. James is saying it's good. I'm saying it's good.
Well, I think it's bad. I don't think there should be a law against it, but listen, James, this happened to me. Somebody sat next to me, had a full sushi spread, took out the little ramekins, started pouring soy sauce into the ramekin, and it went all over me.
Was it from behind you?
Yes, behind me, and yeah. And it stunk, and I was annoyed.
Right.
It gets on your arm, and then you're like, oh, he's got ponzu too?
That would be annoying. That would be annoying.
But okay, fine, no condiments. I'm willing to say no condiments. No condiments that aren't already on the thing you're eating. If it's mustard on, it's already on the sandwich, that's fine. But if you have to pour the mustard on, no deal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've settled that one, James. It's time for unpopular opinions. So in this segment, I troll the internet for unpopular opinions. You seem like the kind of person that spends a lot of time on the internet. I don't mean that as an insult. So you know there's a lot of unpopular opinions out there.
I used to.
Oh, you used to. Okay.
I used to. The internet has gotten more and more useless over the years.
Oh, that's true. You are not on Twitter anymore.
No, I actually have to log in one more time to delete the goddamn thing. But yeah,
that's how they get you. That's how they get you. That's like when you got into a relationship through a dating app, and then you got to go back to the dating app to delete it. But when you do, you're like, wait a second.
Exactly.
Some eligible bachelorettes here.
Yeah, that's part of it.
All right.
Some curious bachelors as well.
Yes, of course. Of course. All right, first unpopular opinion. This person says, I will never, ever lower the window shade on a daytime flight. Okay, so this person's got 4 reasons here. If you want to chime in, at the end of any of these.
Meaning to let the sun in. Lowering, like pull it down, or because or to keep the sun out. Which way is lower?
So he's keeping it open.
He's keeping it open with the sun. Okay, great.
Yeah, with the sun. All right. Number 1, I love natural light. I split my year between the desert Southwest and a Manhattan high-rise with floor-to-ceiling windows. The fact that you like the dark is not my concern. Okay, that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, sitting in the dark in the middle of the day is not normal human behavior. Sorry, not sorry. Those of you who want to sit in the pitch dark on your 11 a.m. flight are the weird ones, not me. Number 3, I'm bi-coastal and I'm a diamond million miler. The sight of the Rocky Mountains will still never get old to me. Wow, that's beautiful. And number 4, there is no replacement for natural light. People who want to sleep can always wear a sleep mask. It's not hard to book a window seat if you absolutely must have the window down during your flight. Otherwise, deal with it. You're not in a cave, you're in a plane. You fly a lot, so what do you think? First of all, do you agree that because you're the one touching the window that you get to have full dominion over it?
This is... Now you're in a delicate balance of powers here. This is one potential offense in one direction or the other could bring Europe to calamity. A series of alliances and cross alliances from aisle to aisle, from window to exit row. It's a lot like Europe before World War One. I'm with the person there, the questioner. I am a fan of natural light. I am not an extremist on it, though. I love looking out the window when I can. Sometimes I have started avoiding window seats because they're getting more cramped than the aisle seats, and it can be physically uncomfortable because I'm kind of tall. I do love looking out the window, though. I love it. I take pictures. I try to know without looking at the map where I am. I love that, where I'm like, nah, that can't be the Mississippi. That's got to be the Missouri.
Yeah. I
do all that shit. Oh, that's not the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon would have been out of the right. This has got to be fucking Moab. I do hate it when you get on an airplane and it's the morning and everyone's has it dark, and I'm like, I get it. Half of us stayed up all night, me included, and the other half of us only slept 3 hours. I get it. That's what airplanes are. But like, then you want to sleep through the day like you're a fucking college kid in the summertime.
Well, they just want to close their eyes, hopefully fall asleep, and wake up in the place they're going. I mean,
I think is they want to catch up on their shows and shit, and I think that's what a night flight is for.
Yeah, but is this not a newish thing? That
it is kind of new.
People are closing.
People used to look out the windows more.
We used to be dreamers,
and people used to talk to each other more.
Well, that's
and that's going away. Like, you don't really talk to your neighbors on the airplane flight unless you're both super attracted to each other, or someone's really trying to get you to accept Christ or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's happened over my lifetime, where people have wanted to keep the windows closed, and then there's this thing where they think it's normal and that you're weird if you're opening the windows. It's like, no. Now, occasionally, I have I haven't ever said this out loud, but I guess expressing it for the first time, I have a policy of like, there's a certain number of times you're allowed to bother me with a wide boundary. I think of people that have boundaries that are wider than they're supposed to have, where it's like, could I from two seats down tell you to close the window? I'm like, I'll allow that, but I then also won't allow the next thing that you want me to do.
Right. So it's not like at a ballpark, you buy the popcorn and then you pass the $5 bill down 12 seats. You're not willing to do that.
Well, if you're in the window, you don't have to do any of that shit. Nobody's serving the drinks from the window side unless it's the troll on the wing. Also, how are you going to see the troll on the wing?
I don't want to see the troll on the wing.
Some of us want to experience life in all of its peaks and valleys, mm-hmm. and that includes a demon troll on the wing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a modest proposal. Why, when you go to a hotel, there's always two curtains on the door. There's the light gauzy one that offers some privacy but lets the light in, and then there's the blackout curtain. On the airplane, there's only the blackout curtain.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Could we not go to Joann Fabric and get, a 2x2 thing to put in there? And that way maybe there'd be less glare and things like that?
Well, there's no privacy concern on an airplane unless there's like someone matching your speed exactly, and it's a plane full of perverts at a very close distance. Where they're like they have their binoculars trying to stare at everybody.
If you see the F-16 flying next to you, you got bigger problems than your privacy.
Yeah. Also, we must agree all windows on the whole airplane should be open for takeoff and landing, at least. I mean,
but I think that's law for that. The flight attendant always says open for takeoff.
But there are some people, and I think of them as New Yorkers, that get on an airplane and sit in the window and like are about to take off. The first thing they do is they're like, okay, they sit down with their large bag and they go, and nobody tells them like, hey, actually, you have to have that raised.
Yeah, but exactly. They're like going back to etiquette. They're not asking anyone. Whereas if you're in the aisle, it's not up to you to decide when the person next to you gets to go to the bathroom. If they stand up, you got to stand up. So like you're the team player in the aisle. Should the window person not get a consensus of two people, really?
No, but sometimes what I do is if it's very clear, I read people's body language too. If the other two people are like, also if the sun's coming straight in and shining on everybody, I'll lower it halfway or whatever. And I try not to lower it all the way for that reason. I want people to know it's daylight. I'm like Johnny Appleseed of the sun. I'm like the fucking fifth dimension. Let the sun shine. If somebody's like, oh, could you, and it doesn't happen very often. If somebody's like, oh, would you mind lowering the window? I might like make a joke about, or gently roast them like, wouldn't want too much sun, would we? Or something like that. To let them know that they're being unhealthy.
Right.
You need that vitamin D.
All right, next unpopular opinion. Waiting for a parking space is the worst thing you can do. So this person explains, every time I go to Costco, it's a complete shit show. Cars camp next to people loading their car so they can get the parking spot. Now you've backed up the entire parking lane and cars have to weave around you. It causes traffic and is less safe for pedestrians. If everyone just drove around until they found an open spot, things would be much quicker. I'm like, I don't really understand. I mean, I agree with this person that the people that line up for a spot typically do suck, and James, I also think of them as New Yorkers, but we have to maintain some kind of first come, first served on this, don't we?
I see it from multiple sides. This has been my curse my whole life. I can see things. I see these complex issues from multiple sides.
You really are going full Zizek on this show.
In this, we have to consider that not only is there parking available, but there is also it is a dynamic system. We understand. As Hegel would say, there is the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. That is parking, that is traffic, the antithesis, and the synthesis is the waiting and finding of the space. That is when you get into the Best Buy, and so on. This I claim. It's a really rough feeling when you're the last idiot that drives past someone who's then leaving.
Yeah.
Now, and also, Also, it's really annoying when you're waiting for people that are like, you think you're going to wait for 10 seconds for a space, but then they're like, well, let's be slow about this. Let's put the bags down and let me change my shoes and empty out the Coca-Cola from the cup. You know, I'm a slow person. I'm a slow person. The kids are slow. We're slow. We like to slow down. And there's actually, I saw a study once. I'm not making this up. I saw a study that was that people would take longer to get out of a parking space. They studied drivers, and people would take a few seconds longer on average to get out of a parking space if they knew that someone else was waiting for it.
Oh, but see, this is what I was going to ask you. I'm the direct opposite, and I will move so fast that I won't even get done the things like. I'll get in the car. There'll be someone waiting behind us.
You spill everything just to get out of the space.
No, I'm like, like my girlfriend will be like, you didn't even put in where we're going on the GPS. I'm like, we'll do it later. I'll pull over when we get to the street. These people, they need our spot.
Right.
But it does feel like other people are just, butter and bread in there or something.
Yeah, that is a thing, and I think you're a rarity. You're in the minority. I don't know if it's a 60-40 split or 80-20 or whatever it is, but most people take a few seconds longer if they know someone's waiting on them, because people are just like, and this is I think the same study said that that's the same phenomenon in the shower, is that if people knew that someone was waiting to take a shower after them, that they would take like a minute longer.
But this person's acting like parking lots have like a perfect circle to them. Like he's just like, if everyone just circled at the same time, you would find a spot that would open at the exact moment you're passing it and you'd go in.
Yeah. But what do you think this is? A roundabout in a Jacques Tati comedy where there's just like the whole city is just perfectly, there's people on bicycles and pedestrians like waving at each other, and there's like perfectly polite automobile Peugeot drivers that are just going in circles, waiting for the next citizen to leave a space. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
Wake up.
Once you get to the end of the parking lot, you're going to have to 3-point turn, and then you're creating just as much traffic anyways. All right, one more question about parking, because someone wrote in that they just had this experience where they went to a night market with their whole family. So they were in 2 cars, and the lot was packed. They couldn't find a spot. And when they finally found one, this woman noticed that nearby another spot had just opened. So she went and stood in it, in the empty spot, and ushered the other car to come into it. As she was doing this, someone passed by and was like, hey, what do you do? Are you using that spot? She's like, yeah, I'm using it. And she felt like she was doing something illegal and bad. This is Betty, by the way.
I don't understand. She found her own space, but then went to stake out another one for the person that she cut off from the space?
No. She, her family was driving to this thing in 2 separate cars.
Multiple cars, got it.
Multiple cars.
So she got a space, and then they were a couple minutes behind her.
Yeah, exactly. So she stood there like a New Yorker throwing a deck chair in a parking space, or the more LA move, which is leave your trash can or recycling in the spot in front of your house so no one else can take it.
Oh, yeah, they do that.
They absolutely do that.
The rich people in the hills have their own secret code at their secret meetings, homeowner meetings, where they're like, the choreography of the recycling and trash bins to keep the parking people away from keeping the hoi polloi away from our precious curbsides.
Hey, talking about getting more people jobs, if you're that rich, you can afford to have someone park there full time, and then when you want to use the spot, you just send them a text or something.
That would be a rare thing, that would be a wonderful thing that rich people could do to give jobs to young people, is like you have a dog walker, you have a parking nurse.
Yeah.
That's so tough for me. I feel like I would condemn it if I was on the wrong side of it, and I would do it if I was on the right side of it.
My mother used to make me do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be like, oh, there's a spot over there. I'm like, yeah, but we're not next to it. She's like, yeah, go stand there. And then I'm like 12 years old, having people yell at me and give me dirty looks because I'm standing in a parking spot.
While she goes and brings the car around.
Well, she goes and gets her nails done, Okay.
Right.
All right, James, now it's time for Helen Hunt's favorite segment. Is this as good as it gets? So in this segment, I'll tell you what I think the consensus best thing in a particular category is, and you tell me if you think it's really as good as it gets. So for example, a few shows ago, excuse me, I think we did something like best household appliance, the fridge. Is this as good as it gets? You could agree, you could say, hey, I'm more of a washer-dryer guy, and we'll talk it out. All right. This one inspired by your special, names of generations. Is this as good as it gets? The greatest generation. Is that the best named generation?
Yeah, I think that's, okay. To surpass, thank you for the shout out for the bit in the special too. That's a fun one. Where I talk about the assholes at Newsweek magazine who get to name the generations. The greatest generation. To surpass the name of the greatest generation, you would have to have such superlatives. You would have to be like, le génération non plus ultra. the superb generation. You would have to be like the exquisite generation.
Okay, but what about from a coolness perspective? I kind of think the Lost Generation, that sounds pretty badass.
Right. They sound like they're just Marlon Brando guys.
Yeah.
They sound like they're just like on motorcycles, sweating and fucking, and then later turning into selfish grandmoms and granddads.
Yeah. So these were like the people that lived through World War I believe, and then saw the horrors and were like, oh, fuck. We thought we knew what this was, and it's just not working for anyone.
Oh, I confused them with the Silent Generation. I'm sorry. The Lost Generation.
Wait, who's the Silent Generation?
That's the Korean War. The Lost Generation, that's sad. They were mowed down in France and Belgium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the Ypres River, at the fucking Somme. They were lost because they were just like machine gunned down into...
Okay, but World War II was no picnic, and they got to be the greatest generation.
Right. Well, we didn't... I think World War II had a bigger celebration at the end of it.
That's true. You got no. I guess because no one leaned a woman over in Times Square and kissed her at the end of World War I.
Right, without asking. And there was Hitler blew his brains out. I don't think the Kaiser Wilhelm did. It wasn't as complete of a victory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't definitive. All right, we're going with Greatest Generation. I don't know why I thought you'd have an opinion on this. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But when it comes to medieval weapons,
sure,
is this as good as it gets? The sword. I mean, probably the most popular. It's just a knife, but bigger. But in a sense, there are like a crossbow, a spear, an axe.
Yeah, I mean, they all have their... they're all mimicked. They're all mirrored in the chess pieces that you have.
Sure.
Yes.
There's the bishops kind of mimic the long distance crossbows of the medieval warfare as they evolved, and then the pawns are like the pikes, like a short distance fighting.
Yeah.
And then the rooks are the siege castles, and the knights are the mounted knights and officers and so forth. That can leap over things, and they can get places that other people can't very quickly. And the queen is just a rough bitch, you know? So I can approach this from 3 points, like chess or Lego Knights or just playing games when I was a kid.
Go games when you were a kid.
In that case, look, so every kid's gonna want to have a sword and be like, I am the warrior. And then some people are going to have their crossbows and be like, I am Robin Hood or whatever. There is something to the weird weapon. I always loved, in a movie or playing a game, when I was a kid, the mace.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like in Henry V, the Kenneth Branagh movie. Brian Blessed. Tennis balls, my liege. In the big battle scene of Agincourt, Brian Blessed has a mace that he's just like in slow motion.
And that's just a stick with something spiky on it?
Oh, it's not just a stick. It's like a big, heavy. It's like a
Baseball bat?
No, it's like a small, like a. How do I say what it would be like in modern terms? It's like a shillelagh with a bunch of spikes on the end of it.
Yeah, like a sledgehammer.
It's like a hammer with a bunch of spikes all over it. Yeah.
Okay.
And you could just you can't reach as far as you can with a sword, but you can
pound.
At a close distance you can bash and smash. I mean, it really takes a village.
Now
to commit a bunch of war crimes before there was international law.
Right.
Where everybody just kind of got away with everything.
What, to raise a child? No. To murder an entire town and sow salt in the ground so that nothing will ever grow again. So now you're talking about kid stuff. You're playing in the yard. You're reminding me now. I forgot the catapult. Does the catapult surpass? Because the catapult's. What is the catapult a weapon? Because it itself is not doing damage. It's the rock or the flaming bale of hay you put in it that is.
Well, let's be honest, because there is no peaceful application for a catapult. Right. I'm sorry, unless
you said there was no glitter. There was no glitter catapult.
Unless you want to be like the crazy Archimedes character with wild hair that's like, I'm proving that the catapult works. So the only peaceful application is just showing what it does. Other than that, it's all it's like a way to hurl shit at shit.
Yeah, fair enough. But the catapult's pretty cool. But I think it's still sword.
Or a trebuchet where it goes.
Oh.
Foom, foom, oh yeah, those are precursors to firearms, basically.
Yeah.
Or artillery, I guess you would say. It's very primitive artillery.
That's a good point. Saying the catapult is not a weapon is like saying a gun is not a weapon, because it's not the gun that kills people, it's the bullet that shoots out of the chamber in the same way the boulder shoots out of the catapult. Glad we settled that. James, there's only one very quick thing left.
Catapults don't kill people.
That's right.
People kill people.
All right, there's only one thing left to do, and that's
we should have catapults in schools.
Subjective trivia. All right. Subjective trivia, James, is just like regular trivia, except only I know the answer. So usually I'll just ask you a question that, for instance, what do we do? Like, there was one a few weeks ago where it was like, which is the best synonym for money? What do I think is the best synonym for money? Stuff like that. It's just my opinion. But today it's not my subjective opinion, because you are a noted Armenian, correct?
Oh, sure.
Right. And you'll be happy to know, by the way, when you type in famous Armenians into Google, you come up.
Well, that's interesting. It's kind of sad.
No, I don't. No, I mean, you're not first row.
Okay, good.
Okay.
There's some.
You're not Rob Kardashian, but
there's some people who represent the culture better than I do.
Right. Okay. Well, that's exactly what the question is. So I go to get allergy shots every week in Glendale, and Karina, my nurse, I see her every week. We've developed quite a relationship. So I know her actual subjective answer to this question. So today's question is, which Armenian celebrity is most proud to be Armenian, according to Karina, the nurse in Glendale, who gives me my allergy shots every week? So here are your choices.
Mm-hmm. I have choices. Good.
Yeah. Cher. Mm-hmm. Andre Agassi. Charles Aznavour.
Ah, yes, Charles Aznavour.
Or Kim Kardashian. So again, it's not which is the most famous Armenian celebrity, it's which Armenian celebrity is the most proud to be Armenian, according to Karina, my nurse.
To run through that for you, it's Cher, the famous pop singer from the 60s.
Mm-hmm. Moonstruck Mermaids.
Yeah, exactly. Actress, a known Armenian from the days when there was not that many, back in the 60s here. Old school California Armenian, I think, unless she's from Boston. And then you said Andre Agassi, world-renowned tennis player, a hot guy when he was younger. I haven't seen pictures of him lately. Presumably he's just like a hot older guy now.
He's hot. And
if you're a tennis professional, you're probably going to stay hot the whole time.
Yeah.
If you're watching tennis and you see someone not wearing white on a tennis court, you have Andre Agassi to thank.
And then you have Charles Aznavour, who was the supremely famous French Armenian singer, where when Sinatra has his live concert album in Paris, he's introduced by Aznavour. And he was recently put into the Pantheon in Paris.
That's right.
Wrote
over 1,000 songs. I did not know that.
He was like the Sinatra of France, and he's like a national hero to Armenia and to France at the same time. Died only a couple years ago. And then finally you said Kim Kardashian.
Yes.
And she's a renowned cosmetics saleswoman and a famous scion, someone who's renowned.
Not to mention a
renowned.
mogul.
She's a mogul. She broke the internet.
That's why the internet doesn't work anymore, James?
Yes, maybe so. And you said your nurse is Karine in Glendale, and you get allergy shots there every week?
Yeah, I get allergies. I'm moving with my girlfriend. She's got cats and dogs, and I'm allergic, so she's helping me out. Now, she's also is somewhat of an anti-vaxxer, which is ironic, but...
Welcome to Glendale. Let me ask you, can I ask you a question about Karine?
Of course, yeah.
Is she what generation is she immigrated to the U.S.? Is she a recent immigrant from Armenia, or like her grandparents, or do you know that?
Is she first generation? I don't know the answer, but she's, I'd say, in her late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, good. Okay.
Speaks accented English, but perfect English.
Accented perfect English, and she's in her 50s or 60s. I'm going to say Charles Aznavour.
God damn it, James. You're spot on. It's Charles Aznavour.
He is legend. He is legend.
Later
Armenian
became
legend.
an ambassador in Armenia. So a national hero to both, as you said. James, since you got the question right, your reward is you could tell people where to find the special.
I wonder how it would have been if I got it wrong.
I whisper it after the show is over.
I would have been locked away like the cartoon of what was it called? The Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the 80s. I would be locked in the internet in a nether space. My comedy special, Path of Most Resistance, is out now on 800 Pound Gorilla. You can pay what you want to watch it on 800poundgorillamedia.com. And the information is also on my website, jamesadomian.com. It's on all my social media platforms. And as of September 19th, it's in wide release everywhere, anywhere like on Apple TV or Roku where you would download or rent or purchase a comedy special. And it's also streaming on YouTube as of September 19th. So it's Path of Most Resistance, and you could see it almost anywhere you would see any other comedy special.
And this is, I should have mentioned this off the top, but this is coming out September 23rd, so it's available everywhere already.
September 9th. Oh, this is, yes, of course. It's been out for 4 days.
This is present. Your management was very specific, James, about when the show is coming out.
Good to know.
We got to push people to the show, so I hope he gets this fucking stupid question right.
You gave me one. I'm glad I was set up to. That would have been a terrible shame if I had not gotten that one right. Amote, as they say in Armenian.
By the way, when I did talk to her about this, I said, "Really, you don't think Cher is proud to be Armenian?" And she went, "She could be doing more." So, okay, I don't know what, but
well, Aznavour's off the hook because he's gone now.
That's right.
But he did so much.
James, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Check out James's special, which is available everywhere since it is September 23rd today. And you can check us out, patreon.com/isthisgood. Thanks for listening. Thanks again to James for coming on. For everyone, I'm Matt Austin, and this was good. We'll see you next week.